Hello, good morning. This is Molly Mullen. I work with the Notre Dame Sisters in Communications, and I'm here today very excitedly live with Sister Celeste Wobeter, who many people know as the um, uh, spearheader and the woman in charge of our coalition on human trafficking. She's also worn many other hats over the years at Notre Dame, but I am going to interview her today specifically about her time at Notre Dame Academy. We're so lucky here with the sisters that many of our sisters were actually educated at Notre Dame Academy by Notre Dame sisters. So Sister Celeste is one of the sisters who graduated from Notre Dame Academy. So I thought it would be only fitting this week, since next weekend is our virtual alumni reunion, to talk to some of our sisters about their time at Notre Dame Academy. So today I have Sister Celeste. I'm going to bring her in now. It always takes a second to load. Hi, Sister Celeste.
Hi, Molly. Hi, everyone. Good to see you all, except I can't.
Where are you coming to us live from? I'm down in the office. Where are you?
I'm up in my apartment at Notre Dame Housing.
So we're in the same building, but we're still very, very physically distant.
Physically distant, yes. I am in one of the former classrooms of Notre Dame Academy.
What classroom do you live in now?
I think maybe it was the English classroom.
Do you ever think about that and chuckle?
And well, yeah. And part of, I think, my bedroom is where I had geometry class. So, yeah, I do think about that sometime.
Did you ever think when you were in geometry class that you would be living in that room when you were older?
No, never thought about that. But it's a great dream that came
Well,
true.
before I ask you a couple questions about Notre Dame Academy, how have you been doing since all of the physical distancing has been taking place?
Well, it's been quite an adjustment, but I'm doing well with it. We made up a song to the tune of Row, Row, Row Your Boat that says, wash, wash, wash your hands, stay 6 feet away, stay at home, read a book, call a friend. What was the last thing? Clean a closet. Virus free, yes. So I'm staying at home, wearing a mask when I'm out. I'm continuing my couple of my ministries as hospice chaplain, and I'm doing my calls by phone rather than by visit. It's recommended as a safety issue for patients and myself.
And where are you a hospice chaplain at?
It's CHI Health at Home and Hospice here in Omaha.
Right. And how many patients do you have?
Right now I have 6 or 7. And so I do phone calls, trying to do a FaceTime with some of them, but it's just not working. So we just do voice. But it's good to hear them talking, and often I just talk to the family member, but it's not the same as an actual visit.
So I am interested in talking to you about Notre Dame Academy. Just to remind people who are listening, we have our virtual reunion on Sunday, June 20th, and we will talk to you live on Facebook, but then you can also talk with us on Zoom. So it's not just one way like this is right now. You'll be able to ask us questions and talk to some of the sisters that you know and care about. So we're trying to make it as close to the normal reunion dinner as possible. And I was so excited when I was putting together, this is my first alumni booklet that I put together, alumni booklet. And I didn't know until recently how many of our sisters graduated from Notre Dame Academy, including you.
Right. Many years ago.
When did you graduate? And can you give me a little bit of an idea of what it was like in the school when you graduated?
I graduated in 1956. I was a boarder during the 4 years I was here at high school. And that was a big change for me. I lived in Toledo, Iowa, And
Where's that?
I was, it's about 50 miles northeast of Des Moines. It's
Okay.
it's between Marshalltown and Cedar Rapids, if that helps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it was a big adjustment being far away from my family, and I was pretty lonesome at first, but I made a lot of new friends, especially among the boarders, and we did a lot of fun things together. And
Was it mostly boarders at that time when you were there?
it was probably about half and half, boarders and day students. Many of them came across the city by bus every day because their families had connections with Notre Dame. So it was a good mixture.
And I just saw a comment from Sister Joy. Thank you for your question, Sister Joy. I'll ask that in just a minute. What a wonderful question. Nobody I know has never gone to a boarding high school. I know that there are some in Omaha still. What was it like to be a boarder when you were going to school here?
Well, as I said, it was just, at first it was really lonesome, but when I made new friends, it was great. And I did know one of the gals just a little bit. She was from near Toledo. But Sister Consolata was the directress of boarders, and she really helped us get to know each other and do activities and things like that. And it was,
Were you in dorm rooms? Did you have roommates? What was it when you woke up at your school?
I had a lot of roommates. It was dorm life, and we had a bed and a little dresser, very little, and then we had curtains that we could pull around for a little privacy, and then we had lockers down the hall.
It sounds almost military style or something like that.
Yeah, and it was fun, and it's like as kids, it wasn't a big deal to be sleeping in a dorm, and I slept very well. Sister Consolata would come check to see that we had everything clean and dusted and the bed made right. And
see, military life, just like I was saying.
Yes, right, it is.
Well, tell me about Sister Consolata. Do you have any memories of her?
Yes, she was just very helpful and very kind, and was always there for us, and was there with us, especially in the evenings. During the day, we were in school, and she did. She was an amazing lady, and she taught us tap dancing. That was part of our gym class.
Picture of this in the yearbook. For anybody watching, if you come to our Zoom reunion, I have more yearbook pictures that I'm going to share. But I believe I saw a picture of Sister Consolata teaching dancing.
Dancing, right, the tap dancing. And I learned how to tap dance and had my little tap shoes, and it was fun. And we also had, we would go roller skating in the auditorium, and getting good weather, summer weather, we were out in the backyard playing softball. And on weekends, Sister Consolata and Sister Virginia would take us we would go on walks around the city, and always stopped at the Reed stand for ice cream. That was our favorite ice cream stop.
Where was that?
Down the road on 30th Street.
Kind of where Zestos is now, or closer to town?
No, it's south of here.
Okay.
So I don't remember the name of the street, but that was a good stopping place. And as boarders, we would often just run down the hill and get on the bus and go downtown and go shopping or sightseeing or whatever. And
where did you go shopping at downtown?
Oh, Brandeis was down there at the time. That was the big place. And I loved going up and down the elevator and having the lady go click, click, click as we were going up and down. And
I've seen so many pictures of Brandeis, but I was born after it was done being a department store. So I love hearing stories about great thriving downtown department stores.
Brandeis was a big place for us. And I was just a little girl from a little town. So big city was big for me.
Well, what did Omaha seem like? What did Omaha look like? What did Omaha feel like in 1955, 1956? Was it very different from now?
Oh, yes, this part of town has changed a lot. We have a lot more Black people who have moved into this area. Um, just a lot of changes in the environment, and 30th Street. Just a lot of businesses have changed, and housing for low-income people has increased. So there are a lot of changes. Um,
It sounds like all good changes, more diversity, more business.
um, some more business, and some just different industries and whatever. Yeah. So. Mhm. Um,
So I was looking through the yearbooks and I was so surprised by some of the classes and activities that were going on in the 50s. Were there any classes that you had at Notre Dame Academy that maybe we wouldn't have anymore, or any clubs or extracurricular stuff that is different from nowadays?
well, as far as classes, I don't know how many schools teach Latin, but I did learn Latin, and
We had Latin at Central High School when I went there, but that was
yeah,
almost 20 years ago.
um, and we had home ec and sewing. I never did take the sewing class, but I did do the home ec class, and learned a lot of things from Sister Gabriel. She was another amazing lady. The stories about her in sewing class is you sew and then you rip, and then you sew and then you rip again until you get it perfect. She liked things being perfect, and which was good. I'm sorry I never took the class, but
Did you know any of these sisters, like her or Sister Consolata, after you became a sister?
did I know her?
Like, did you know her as a professional or as a sister after you were a student?
Yes, and after she was director of boarders for some time, and then she was a teacher in several schools, Clarkson, and it's the only place I remember right now. But she loved teaching. She loved her students, um, and she really connected with the families in Clarkson as well as with the students. And then she was also very artistic in a lot of things. And I don't remember what you call it, but she'd take little strips of paper and make designs and little.
Like a paper mosaic?
No, not a mosaic. Somebody helped me with the word on that. She'd make things on cards or pictures to frame, and it was very intricate and very beautiful. Yeah.
Well, while I was looking through the yearbooks and I was looking up some history, I'm in charge of the trivia for the Notre Dame Academy reunion. I saw that, there wasn't a year that didn't have a huge event in it. And I'm talking about a huge event, in American history. So right now I've noticed, and everybody knows, that we have the coronavirus happening to all of us with our physical distancing. We have uh, protests in the street. We have people raising their voices about racism and discrimination every day. But when I was looking through these yearbooks, I just kept seeing what was happening then. There were demonstrations for civil rights. There were demonstrations for pollution, Vietnam. I mean, it seemed like every year that somebody graduated, we had a huge, tumultuous year also in American history. And I only ask you this because you graduated in 1956. So, it was before Vietnam War, before the height of the civil rights movement. But was there anything happening in Omaha at the time that you graduated that reminds you of some of the tumultuous times that we're going through now?
I don't. I remember the race protests and riots, but that was in the 60s, and I was at Wahoo Newman at that time. I don't remember that going on when I was in high school. I do remember a big flood on the Missouri River.
Oh, was that while you were in school? Tell me about that.
And I don't remember which year it was, probably 52 or 3. It was a flood that lasted for a long time, and we would walk up to the street above State Street so we could see the flood better, and it was there for a long time. It was happening in the spring. But I don't remember any protests or.
Yeah, it was a little before Americans really got their protest boots on.
Yeah. And I think polio was a big thing at that age, at that time.
Tell me, I mean, I have no knowledge of, my grandmother had polio, but it was 20 years before you graduated. What, just
well,
kind of like
know that
the zeitgeist, like people were thinking about it and talking about it a lot, or was it affecting your fellow classmates?
Well, we actually have a couple of sisters who had polio, and Sister Josita was a student and a boarder when I was in high school, and Sister Consolata would be doing therapy with her on her hands to kind of regain the strength there. So I think polio was more rampant at that time. And
were there any precautions you had to take back then, like we're doing now, like distancing or hygiene?
No, not that I was aware of. It was.
Things have progressed at least that much since then.
Right, yeah.
Well, we got a comment from Sister Cynthia. Sister Cynthia says, the class I was allowed to skip, sewing, because I already knew the basics from my mother. Cooking class of 66, lived in the dorm. Sister Celeste just gave a great description. Dorm and day students, happy to see you at the reunion in a few days. So yes, whether you were a dormer or you were a day student, please join us at our reunion in a few days. You can see some of your fellow classmates, whether you're sisters or not. We'll all be here together. I wanted to bring it back to Sister Joy's comment on Facebook that she was the first one to post. And I thought this was a really neat question for you because you have been at Notre Dame Academy, Sister Celeste. Now you live at the former Notre Dame Academy, and you've been here since the transition over to Notre Dame housing. So Sister Joy asks, how has it been for you, Sister Celeste, to see Notre Dame Academy change to affordable housing over the years?
Well, it certainly is a big transition. And when we closed Notre Dame Academy, that was a real a loss for us because we were very proud of the academy and the education we were giving to hundreds and thousands of young women to train them to be mothers and professional, gospel-centered people and just all of that. But, we had looked at where we were financially and enrollment and needed to make that change. And it's been a great change because we're now merged with Rummel to have Rum County Catholic, and that's a very wonderful school, and they continue to carry on the mission and carries them of the Notre Dame Sisters and the Christian Brothers.
And that's why I feel like loss is a bit of a harsh word because it wasn't, you didn't lose a school, which was nice. Other people have, but you kind of gained something else.
Right. Every loss and every struggle usually has a bright side eventually.
Right.
And having Notre Dame housing, it was a long process for us to come to realize what we needed to do to utilize our building. And we did a market study to determine what's an unmet need in our part of Omaha. And the answer was low-income housing for seniors. And so that's
can you believe how true that is turned out to be? I mean, how incredible this need has become. I mean, who knew with baby boomers at that time what the need was going to be? Maybe we did.
Yes, and so it was a ministry that we've never done that. We're in education, but we took the risk and said, yes, we'll learn how to do it. And so it's been a long journey. We started out in 1997 with the first HUD building, and The following year, the second HUD building, and the third year, in 1999, the renovation of one of the first part of our building that was built as a school. And so that was built up as apartments for low-income seniors. And so I'm really proud of the fact that we now have 107 apartments for low-income seniors, and that we can really be a support to those. And we have had and still do have some residents who were homeless when they came, and people really living in places that they didn't feel safe. When one resident moved in and said, "I feel so safe here," that really hit me. I thought, I've never thought about being safe where I live. So yeah, we're very proud of what Notre Dame Housing is doing. And
absolutely
happy for our residents. They have a wonderful spirit.
Well, thank you very much for chatting with me. I just want to remind people that Sister Celeste and other sisters and grads are going to be with us on Facebook and Zoom on June 20th for our virtual reunion. We're going to be having conversations and chats just like this about what's going on then, what's going on now, and we're just really going to try to connect with each other like we would have in person. So thank you very much, Sister Celeste, for talking with me. I'm sure the next time I talk to you, we can really get into the nitty-gritty about human trafficking and your other ministries. But thank you for sharing your memories about Notre Dame Academy with me today.
Yes, yes. And I just want to add one thing that Rita gave me the information that I was talking about the artistic things that Sister Consolata did. It's called quilling. So she was quilling, and she was an expert at it.
So if any of you watching took quilling from Sister Consolata, feel free to give us comments so we can read about them, and we'll talk about them in our next interview. Well, thank you so much, Sister Celeste. I know that we both have this meeting to go to in the next few minutes, so I'll let you go now. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Reminder that we have our alumni reunion on June 20th on Facebook Live and Zoom. Check out the Facebook event. Email me with any questions you have. I'd love to help you out. mmullen@NotreDameSisters.org, mmullen@NotreDameSisters.org, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, Sister Celeste.
Hope to see you all at the reunion. Goodbye.